Let's do it, mate.
Dr. Beau. How are you, mate?
Yes, I'm good. I'm actually good.
It's good.
Cooked last week, but I'm feeling much better.
Nice. Now, we're just going to go for a drive.
Yeah.
Around your neck of the woods.
Yeah. Where do you want to go?
Fuck if I know. I'm just gonna
follow your nose.
Just not go right back down Hollow because that looked disgusting.
Right. Yeah, right. I bet.
So,
thank you for schlepping up here. I appreciate that.
No worries. Google Maps wanted to take me down like past Albert Park. I'm like,
yeah.
Surely you know it's better not to do that with the Grand Prix.
Grand Prix on. AFL starts this weekend.
Yep. It's all happening.
It's all happening.
Did you watch the game last night?
I didn't. Who was it? Sydney got up and what's his face had his first game against the Blues.
Yeah, Kerno. They
legend.
They kicked 13 goals in a quarter.
With Kerno, you mean Swans did?
Swans did, yeah. Can I get out that way?
I reckon you can't.
Call me that.
Yeah. You go up this way and we'll go up to Eddie Gardens and
nice.
Turn around there a bit.
Nice.
Did you watch the game?
Bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I chose to do a new recipe last night.
Oh, yeah?
And it just took fucking ages.
What was it?
It was awesome. It was like a it was a cabbage. This sounds shit already. Cabbage. Well, cabbage. It's a bang chicken salad.
Yeah,
bang chicken salad, and it was great. But you've got to chop up all the chicken, then you've got to get it ready to fry the chicken,
right.
and it was a Christian Petrarca thing, and he's suggesting just do
right
air fryer. I'm like, cool, but this is going to take 34 batches of air frying. But so yeah, it was, and I'd just got home from the gym and I was starving. It's just one of those ones. And then I wanted to sit down and watch the footy, but
cooking when you're hungry is
yeah.
That's a fraught task.
Yeah. So, but we had that, and there was enough for leftovers. So
there you go.
Not a bad setup.
What
did you have for dinner?
Last night we had fish. I ate. My partner's in food, so I ate very well. I ate some fish with veggies, and that was it.
Yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah, it was good. It was healthy.
On the shred?
I would like to. I'd like to lean up a little bit, but I want to put muscle on too. So I'm trying to achieve the impossible.
It's a balance.
Yes, it is.
Balance.
I don't mind eating a bit of volume, as long as it's mostly protein.
There we go. He gets it.
Yeah.
So, what are we talking about today?
I thought I want to talk to you about social isolation. In my work as a psychologist, when I first started doing this job, I never expected it to be such a big deal, but I end up talking to guys mostly about loneliness. Most of the guys I talk to, it ends up being their issues come back to lack of friends. People think that it's relationship issues, but often the pressures that are happening in their relationships are because they don't have a lot of friendship stuff going on, and they end up trying to get their friendship needs met in their romantic relationships, and that's kind of like the first domino to fall, is that the thing that's causing the other issues is there's a lack of friends, and I think that there's some issue with men these days, or boys these days, and men making friends. I think there's something that it's been missing. A few guys have talked about it, and I think that it's a problem. I want to bring some attention to it. I think it's the biggest issue facing men these days.
So when you're talking to blokes in your clinic, how quickly are you able to put a finger on it that it's not to do with X, it's actually to do with this?
It's not. It's, in fairness, it's not ever just like one thing, but I usually within, by virtue of the way that I work, I get a sense of it pretty quickly in the first session. I do an assessment in the first session, and I get a sense of what high school was like for them and how they went making friends, and also what their relationship with their dad is like. That's usually a pretty good indicator, but it's usually not until the third session. I will have sent them a questionnaire by then, and that's when we really, once in the third session, we start talking about the results of the questionnaire, and by that stage we're kind of trying to weigh up whether that is the issue, if they believe it's the issue, if they agree with me that it's the issue, and we get into the work after that. So it takes a couple of sessions to get into it.
So when we talk social isolation, are we talking loneliness?
Yeah,
or is it different?
It is a lot of loneliness, but you could apply loneliness to like romantic attachments too, in a way that, you know, you could be lonely because you don't have a romantic partner, but it is a lot about it's kind of a little bit more complicated than just being around people as well, though, because a lot of guys are kind of defensive about this about this being the issue, because they say to me, I do have friends, I've got people around me, but when we start really digging into it, those people don't know a lot about them. They don't know a lot about those people. They're more like acquaintances, and once they start to understand that the deeper connection isn't really there, then that's an issue. It's not just about being alone, like you said. It's about loneliness, which means being known, you know, sharing something about what's going on for you and having somebody share something about what's going on for them in return. It needs to be mutual. There needs to be something going on.
So there's a difference between being alone and lonely.
Yeah, definitely. It's totally healthy and appropriate to be comfortable being alone. And I think I've heard a lot of men say that they prefer to be alone. I get what they're saying, but I believe in some ways that's a kind of a protective style of thinking, a defensive style of thinking, to say that they prefer to be alone. It's good and appropriate to be alone sometimes, but we also need to be able to connect with people that we're romantically interested in and people that we're platonically interested in.
So when we're talking about people that say, but I've got heaps of mates. I've got heaps of mates, or I've got a lot of people around me, but they still feel lonely.
Yes.
What is this thing? What is the gap between having people around you and not being alone, but also feeling lonely? Where is that gap?
The gap between, as in what you're saying, is that there is such a thing as having people around you and acquaintances and even friends, people who you might call friends, but there's a different level of closeness that might not be happening. That what the word that we would use in therapy is intimacy. People usually think of intimacy as sex and those sorts of things, but intimacy is actually really a word for closeness. How close are you to someone? Do you know what's really going on for them? Do you know how they feel? And do you know something more about them? Are you close to them? Can you be your unguarded self with them? That kind of thing.
So if we're talking about mates relationships rather than intimate relationships, how do we do that?
Well, that's a good question. And I want to just clarify that intimate, you're using the word intimate like romantic relationships.
Yes.
So romantic. I just want to be really careful to distinguish between like platonic intimacy and romantic intimacy.
Okay,
Those are different things, but the essence of it is the same, actually, is that that somebody knows something kind of close about you, knows something more private about you, doesn't know about how everything's going really great, not just the great headlines, but is kind of more familiar with what's going on in your life on a day-to-day basis, what you're struggling with, what are the things that are making you angry, what are the things that are making you sad, what are the things that are making you anxious or scared, what are the things that are really making you happy in small ways, not just like the big proud headlines, or not the kind of stock standard work stuff. And I mean, it depends what your career is, but, you know, not those kind of broad strokes, but something more personal, something smaller and closer. It's kind of, as you can tell, it is a little bit tricky to put words to. That's another thing about this, is that we're trying to describe something that's quite small and hard to articulate.
Which is platonic intimacy between friends.
Yes. Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Can I interrupt your flow for a bit?
Please.
And just talk about a time where I felt lonely?
That sounds good. I'd love to hear about that.
Fucking awful.
Yes, exactly.
It was awful. I felt, and I remember talking to my psych at the time, and she said, "So you're not alone, but you're lonely." I'm like, "Yeah, that's it." Because I'd just come back from living overseas, and I had people that wanted to be around me, people that wanted to catch up. I had my core group of mates that I was still close with, but wanted to like reconnect with. But it felt like everything had moved on, or I hadn't moved with the times, and
yeah.
whichever way it was, it doesn't really matter. But and maybe because I moved away as a 28-year-old and I came back 6 years later feeling like a 28-year-old, but everyone had sort of grown up,
Yes.
grown up or something.
No, I understand.
And I wanted to be close to them, but I just couldn't find ways to do it and crack the code, and I felt really lost. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere. And yeah, it was great to have people around, but it felt like no one understood.
Totally. I'm really sorry to hear that, by the way. That sounds rough, but it's also like a very normal experience. It's not, you're not, yeah. I hear stories like that a lot in the work that I do. I'd be, if you were my client, I'm very tempted to ask you more questions about that,
well, you can if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm interested to know, do you have any insights on what was stopping you from sharing with them? What stopped you from saying to them, fuck, like I'm trying to get close to, I do want to hang out, but there's something blocking me from hanging out? Or were you ever able to put a finger on what it was that was stopping you? Was it that, you have a go at it first? And
I thought, from memory, because it was 4 years ago now,
yeah.
I remember the access to my mates was there, and we were able to hang out, but it just felt like I wasn't able to. I was still able to have great conversations with them, but there was something there that I wasn't just clicking or connecting with.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether it was because of so much time away and we were just on different vibrations or different wavelengths. I couldn't put a finger on it. I think also maybe having moved back to home, it wasn't like you're living in Never Never Land and it's just like an adult's playground wherever, because you're overseas and maybe less responsibilities and all these sorts of things. But when it came home, it was like it felt lost maybe in the city itself and lost in my place in who I can connect with.
There's a couple of ideas that usually there's a couple of things that usually get in the way of connecting. It might have been the case that you didn't believe that they would understand what was going on for you because they weren't dealing with it. They had moved on. Maybe they were engaged. Maybe they were having kids. Maybe they were buying houses. And maybe you just believed that they wouldn't be able to understand. So maybe that was something that was going on for you. And that's an idea to be tested. It's important to check in with your friends to find out if they get it, or if at least they can kind of comprehend. Maybe they're not in the same place as you, but they might be able to understand. But the thing that I really want to ask you about is, were you embarrassed that they were doing these grown-up things and you were, just coming back from, like, maybe, I don't know what you had to show for yourself, but other people might have had house deposits, or they might have had kids or engagements, and maybe there was something that you didn't feel like you could talk about, that kind of stuff.
Well, that was definitely in different life stages to me, in that they were married, engaged, kids, planning kids, or just settled down. But I didn't feel like I was missing out on that. For personally, actually, part of me probably thought like everything will slot into place. It'll happen. It'll happen. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I also remember, being in like a very, very short-term relationship in that time.
Yeah.
And the girl called it off, and it was obviously that's not nice to ever happen anyway. But then also to have that like projection paired with the disconnect from your home and disconnect from your mates, like it was just a lot at the time. But I don't know if it was if it was because like I was feeling this way because of where my mates were in their life stages. I didn't feel like I had to play catch up.
Yes. Okay.
Even though I was trying to date and trying to find someone to
get on that track.
Yeah. Which is that's definitely not a race, but I think you just just do it.
No, I know. I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to tell you like I know what was going on for you in a way that you didn't know. I don't really know, but that's just one theme that often comes up, is that maybe you weren't competing with your mates, but on some level you might have thought, I'm not where I want to be. This is not where I thought I would be at this time. I thought I might be a bit further ahead. And when guys think like that, they might feel a bit embarrassed about where they are in the process. And then that's when they don't want to share. That is a type of intimacy when you can talk to a close friend about something that you're not stoked about in your life. And a lot of guys resist that idea about talking to a friend about something that they're not really proud of, that they're not excited about. They only want to bring good news. They don't want to bring the bad news.
So, and is that because, this is probably broad term though, is that not just to do with loneliness, but now maybe anxiety, depression, a breakup? Is that all to do with like the shame?
Yeah, that's what I would say. There is something that I think guys don't learn all the time about it being safe to talk to friends about things that are not good, like that they are embarrassed about or ashamed of. So yeah, it can be about shame. And this is a bigger idea that I need a whiteboard for to talk to you about properly, but depression and anxiety are really our resistances to expressing feelings like shame. Depression and anxiety are what happen when we're trying to resist feelings and resist expressing feelings.
So if you're saying,
yes,
if we can drop shame and embarrassment and guilt and the fear of being judged, and have those discussions, then there's no depression, no anxiety, or are we saying something different?
That's pretty close to what I'm saying. That's maybe some people will take issue with me saying that, but I really think that if you can talk about your feelings and you have a close relationship where you can talk about them, you won't get constipated on your feelings. And that's really what depression is getting constipated on your feelings. Anxiety is kind of like a similar thing, resisting talking about feelings, resisting expressing feelings, resisting the acknowledgement of feelings. And if you can talk about sadness and anger and shame and happiness, that's healthy.
Yep.
That's what those things are.
So this still relates to social isolation. So, okay, so why is there this, maybe we'll do this before we go back to more to the loneliness stuff, but why is there this shame?
Why is there shame amongst guys?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, that's a big question.
We need another tank of petrol.
We don't have enough time, or I don't have. There are lots of competing sociocultural ideas about why men are particularly sensitive to shame.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine what some of them are. Some of them are socio-biological. Some of them are biological ideas that we have different even biology to women with regards to coping with feelings. There are parts in the brain that are different in men and women. That women have a bigger corpus callosum than men. That's like a funny thing that I always thought was really interesting, is that the piece of tissue that joins the hemispheres in women is bigger than men's. They have a much bigger, their hemispheres are more connected by a bigger piece of tissue than men. So there could be cultural reasons why men are more resistant to shame. There could be biological reasons. To be honest, we don't fully understand it.
But we are capable of talking.
Completely, totally, completely. Yeah.
In my experience, if you give someone an inch, they'll take a mile.
Tell me what you mean.
Like if I was having a conversation like this with a mate, or even a complete stranger I've had in some of the work that I've done, and you open it up by on my the way I do it's through vulnerability and humor. I'll model it and do it first, and then just ask some questions, and people are able to then talk about it. But men feel like they have to have a safe space, and I think that's all it is. But really, no one's building the safe space. We get to build the safe space, and it's whether it's conversations in the car, on the phone, whatever, or finding that person.
Yes, exactly.
Which is getting us back to
friendships,
social isolation.
Yes, exactly.
And friendships.
You're exactly right. That the key is to building the types of connections where that stuff can come out, making it safe. And men don't learn how to do that. Maybe there were structures in society that helped men know how to do that in the past, but those structures don't seem to be there anymore the way that they used to be.
Is it because, and rightly or wrongly,
this
is I don't want to get into a gender discussion here, but like boys are playing cops and robbers,
yes,
and girls are doing tea parties.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they're chatting at the tea parties,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to shoot each other up.
Yeah, at the risk of I want to tread very carefully in this space, obviously, because I might easily say something that's really dumb and insensitive.
Yeah.
But yeah, like historically and culturally, men were going to war. They were the ones fighting, and so they needed to be less sensitive and more numb and capable, like prepared to die for their community. And women were the ones raising children. That's obviously not. I want to be so careful how I talk about this. It's like that's not how we want society to be anymore these days. But the way that humans evolved was in that way.
Yeah.
And so traditionally women have had better soft skills than men, and we're working on that now, and appropriately so. It's great, but I guess we're still catching up, and there are obviously some old habits that die hard.
Yeah,
that we're still inclined to a certain way.
For sure, and maybe just to put a full stop on this one is that a mate of mine, Ryder, who works for Tomorrow Man, he's unbelievable.
Yes,
he would say girls play with dolls and boys play with guns.
Yes,
they're pretend boy rules and pretend girl rules.
Yes,
they're just there because someone did it once upon a time, and we don't have to do it. They're not a rule.
That's totally true.
So
I feel very strongly about that.
We're agreeing on that.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Okay, so coming back to how we can do it for each other as mates with platonic intimacy.
Yes. Yeah.
What are some things that we can do to try and connect better with our mates?
It's so that's such an interesting question, actually, because it's sort of not what we do. I know people who have their platonic intimacy playing squash, or some guys who go and go to the gym with a mate for an hour a couple of times a week, or some guys I know are in a book club, or some guys are in a business together, or there are lots of different things that you could do. It's more the issue is really more around a psychological preparedness to be vulnerable.
Okay.
If you understand what I'm saying. It's more about being open to that. It's not an activity per se, but this is the really tricky thing, Jack, is that we need an older man usually, or someone who's been around this for longer, to teach us a bit about how to do it.
We need someone to teach us how to be prepared to be vulnerable.
Yes. We need a leader to model it to us, really, more than anything.
So that's why at the start of this conversation you said you check in with your patients' relationships with their dad.
That's one of the reasons I check in, to find out what have your male relationships, what's been modeled to you in that way.
Is there a pattern in what you see is important for success when it comes to, and not just success, for use of a better word, for platonic intimacy?
Yes,
yeah. All right.
Oh, you mean in that? I want to say as well, by the way, men can't only be platonic friends with men. You know, like there's some caveats that we should probably say about
of course.
Men being capable of being friends with women and
all genders
and so on. Exactly.
Yep. Great.
Thank you. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
But the pattern is really that it's something like we need a dad or a man in our life to tell us that they want us to do well, like that they're invested and interested in us being successful in life. That's a kind of like a conditional interest, like I want to see you do well. And then we need them to express an unconditional interest as well, which is that we need them to say to us, even if you don't do well, I'm still interested. Like I'm still going to be here to talk to you about what's going on.
Okay.
And I still want to know, even if you don't do well, even though I do want you to do well. So we need conditional interest and unconditional interest.
So doing well isn't a condition of them
my
being
interested
there.
In you. Exactly. That's exactly it. It's like I am invested, but it's not required that you do well for me to be interested. That's really what in the work that I do, we're trying to get to a place where a client can feel that they can have the experience of a man being interested in them in that way. That it's not. I see guys whose dads were only interested in them when they did really well, and that creates its own set of issues. There's a lot of pressure on them to do well then.
Yep.
And I see guys whose dads were sort of like unconditionally interested in them, which meant that they didn't have boundaries, and their dad was just like, yeah, I don't care what you do, like you can do whatever. And then those guys end up with their own set of issues because they don't have, it's like they don't care to try. There's a whole cohort of guys who aren't really interested in trying in life because they haven't had anybody be really invested in them trying. You can see how it ends up, the two ends of the spectrum. You end up with guys who are kind of like, playing video games all the time and not really trying in life. And they're like, well, don't need to worry about that. And then there are guys who are trying, like absolutely busting their ass, trying so hard because that's what they think they need to do in order for somebody to be interested in them.
Yeah. They're doing that for like an approval.
Exactly.
And like maybe something that's common is like, I just want to make dad proud.
That's definitely a thing. Yeah, definitely. And so like, yeah, you can get it. It's a hard thing being a dad, by the way. It's a hard thing being a mentor and a leader because you've got to balance these two things, the unconditional interest in your child and the conditional interest in your child. And if you mess it up too much either way, then the kid could end up being either too concerned with approval and too concerned with too higher standards, or not concerned enough with trying and kind of undisciplined and not going anywhere in their life, no direction.
This could be a tough one to answer, so you can pass if you want. But if there are dads listening,
yes,
and you wanted to give them a snippet of advice just to start, or just make sure the rudder's being held, for their son or daughter, what would you say to them?
Yeah, mate, fuck, that's a good question. I don't know where to start. It's a big it's such a big idea to try and sum it. I know it's good for a grab if I had one like answer for that, but it's actually it's a big idea. Maybe you could get them to reflect on who their mentors were, who their leaders were, and what that felt like, and was it good, and did they get what they needed? Did they get unconditional and conditional interest in them? Did they get a mix, or did they only get one or the other? The way that it usually works is that if you get one type of interest from a man, then you will, with your own kids, you'll correct to the other side. So say, you can see the dilemma here that your dad was so concerned with you being perfect, then you will not put any conditions on your kids, and then they'll end up being kind of undisciplined. And so you can go wrong on either side. So what's my advice to fathers? I mean, I don't have kids, by the way. I feel a bit underqualified to comment on this. But something like, are you being conditionally and unconditionally interested in your kids?
Yeah. Tough job being a parent.
It is, mate. It's really hard. It's like threading a needle. You can get it wrong on either side, and it is hard to get it. And some people, I'm sure, would say that it's not that hard, but yeah, I think it's tricky to get it right in the middle.
Is it worth having a question on your speed dial? Is like, what do you need from me, or what would you like, or is that
with a friend?
You mean? No, from a
father from a mentor to a mentee.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Like, how do you think you're going? That you really want to get the mentee, the person. We're kind of as long as we acknowledge we're talking about two different things here, because mentors and mentees are a bit different to friendships.
Yeah.
But yeah, as long as as a mentor, you're trying to get somebody to reflect on what's going on for them and how it feels, and you're trying to be the space where they can be vulnerable. And you, as a mentor, you need to not need anything from the mentee.
Yeah.
But maybe that's right. Maybe actually what you're saying is true, that something good would be to ask them, what do you think you need from me? I just know sometimes when you ask guys that question, they'll say, I don't need anything, I'll work it out on my own. And that is kind of like, you're kind of missing the point then.
Yes. So we got here because a way to be vulnerable needs to be modeled to us.
Yes.
Now, what if we haven't had that?
Yeah.
Like, if say there's 35-year-old blokes out there.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah,
oh
yeah.
shit, I don't even know
Yeah, I
if
didn't
it
get
was
that.
modeled to me
Yeah,
or not.
yeah,
What
yeah.
what can we do then?
Well, yeah, then ideally we go looking for someone. We go and try and find someone who can be a role model to us.
Yep.
That would be the optimal thing. It could be a therapist, it could be a footy coach, it could be a manager at work, it could be an uncle, it could be, if it can't be your own dad, it could be any kind of adult man or any kind of adult really who is interested in you and has a healthy relationship with you.
Could it be a mate? Could we take
I think it can
some
be.
learnings from mates?
You can definitely you definitely learn a version of it from mates. And also some mates are a bit like older adults to us. We can have, I imagine that when I've played sports before, I've played with older guys sometimes, and they end up being like role models to me as well. And I don't know what it was like for you at the footy club, but I bet there were times when there were older guys kind of being a leader to you and showing you what it was to have someone invested in you.
100%. But there's also times where you've seen older people, you're like, I'm staying the fuck away from him. Like, he's just not
right.
my person.
Not healthy. Not, you can tell.
Yeah.
I guess you get a sense that they're they're not doing that great. Actually, can I stop you for 1 second? While we're up here, do you have any interest in going up to A1 Bakery? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, sweet. That's good. I'm in the mood for that.
Is it right here?
It's really close. Yeah, go. I think it's right on Sydney Road. You can go right here. We should be good. That'd be fucking.
It's nothing like a 3 o'clock Goslam,
Yes, exactly. What a treat.
3 o'clock Gozzies with Beau and Jack. That's nice.
Maybe we should be doing these chats after a few beers with a Suva or something. That'd be quite funny.
I was thinking it's almost Slurpee weather.
It honestly is. How are we going? What is the temperature?
It's
25 degrees.
25 right on 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sort of getting the idea that if we're feeling lonely so far, oh, that was ambitious. If we're feeling lonely, we can do something about that by getting ready to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And to get it ready to be vulnerable, the preference is to have an older role model.
Yes.
Do that. Model
it to us. Find someone who you've seen do it, and then have them and kind of learn how to do it from them.
Why do they have to be older?
No, actually, as you said that, it doesn't have to be older. It is the case often that it's older guys who have worked some of this stuff out, but not exclusively. I've known younger guys who are very capable of doing this kind of, being that kind of person to someone.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. And then that will prepare us to be vulnerable and then offer that to our mates.
Yes.
And then in turn can help with
us offering that, us being that and helping, like inviting them to be that thing for us as well.
Oh, so if we can do that for our mates might learn from us to do it from them. Totally. So it can go in a cycle like that.
Totally.
But someone has to start the game.
Someone's got to go first.
Someone's got to start the game of vulnerability dominance.
Someone's got to have the stones to go first.
The stones, yeah. Okay.
It's a scary thing. It's not easy, not even with practice, not even after doing it a lot. Every time it's still, it can give you butterflies.
But starting is the hardest part.
Yes.
Starting the hardest part.
Yeah, definitely.
And I hear a lot of blokes going, oh yeah, I start these conversations. It usually happens after a couple of beers.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
which is very, maybe that's why there's always so many blokes in the pub, because they're having beers and then having DNS.
It helps, the Dutch courage, and it helps you get there. So
I think we know that alcohol and mental health sort of butt heads, right?
That's so interesting that you say that. This might not be very good content, so you feel free to edit this out, but it's really complicated with alcohol. It's obviously the case that you can drink too much alcohol, but humans have a long history of using things to take the edge off the things that they're afraid of. It's I don't begrudge guys having a few beers, but it obviously can become a problem. Yes, and broadly speaking, it becomes a problem that it can be too much. But I don't have a problem with men, having a couple of drinks. I should be very careful how I talk about this, but I don't think that teetotaling is necessarily the answer either. That's all I'm trying to say.
No.
Is that we have a long history of using different strategies to take the edge off doing the things that we're afraid to do. And I don't begrudge humans of doing things like that to help them do things that they're afraid of. A1's actually behind us, by the way, so you need to turn around. Yeah, if you can drop a UE, that'd be good.
Watch this
You might
space. Oh, I've got it. Oh, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Come back out.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you're directing here.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think we've all done it.
Yeah.
Got shit-faced or had 6 cans and then we're like, hey, let me tell you about relationship A, B, and C.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm not advocating for people getting totally smashed in order to do that kind of stuff. That's not really what.
No, I feel like if that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah. That's not great either.
That's not great.
No.
If that's the only way you can do it, I would encourage people to do it, yeah. But then the next morning, pick up the phone and switch the beer for a coffee.
Yes.
And say if you can do it drunk, you should be able to do it sober. Do it sober and say, you know what, mate? Thanks for listening last night. I actually meant all that. Can we go again?
Yeah. I love that. That's a great strategy. It's great thinking.
Yeah, easier said than done though. Right?
No, true.
Easier said than done. So, all right. How did we get to there?
We were talking about how guys are originally you said what things can guys do to help them be better at this.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought up the prospect of like learning from someone else who already knows how to do it. That's really what I was trying to get at, is that it's not a behavior. Some people think that if they do enough ice baths or if they run enough kilometers or something like that. And that's not to put down any of those things. Those things are great. Joining a local sports team, also we do need to be learning from other people, but it's not the activity per se. It's addressing and experiencing the discomfort that comes with saying to someone, actually, this thing makes me feel really angry, or this thing makes me feel really embarrassed, or this is the thing in my life that makes me feel sad. It's a preparedness to do that. And that's like a muscle. If anything, that's the kind of thing that needs reps. Yeah. And the more we do it, the more comfortable we get with it. And goes from there.
Fuck. Yeah. Like, I love all these conversations.
Yeah,
they're so hard.
They are.
They're just, you get that pit in your stomach, you get a bit sweaty, your heart's racing, your hands are clammy, and you try and speak, then the words don't come out.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But then once it comes out, like, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. It's a relief.
Not too bad.
Yeah. When somebody knows those things, it's a real relief.
Yeah.
I'm sure people have had that experience of the relief that comes with it.
Well, that's it. How do we? Convince is the wrong word. How do we encourage people to have these types of conversations so that they can connect with their mates more? Because it's all well and good to say, oh, but you'll feel so much better, or you'll feel the relief and stuff.
Well, they've
got to do it. We've got to do it to be able to feel it.
It's probably important to say as well that sometimes you have these conversations with mates and they turn around and they say to you, stop being soft. Or they say, come on, like, suck it up a bit. Or they say, I don't want to talk about this, or whatever it is. That's the whole reason that we feel uncomfortable with the conversations, is that we know there's a chance that someone will receive us like that. And it can be a gamble. It's why you need to secure people who you can trust and who you know are going to handle it well, because not everybody has that in them. That's a whole, not yet anyway, at least. This is where we're going just now. Yeah. So anyway.
That's a nice little park for us up
there.
Yeah,
and just the front row.
We've got the Dermy. Do you know why they call it the Dermy?
I call it because he's always in front.
No, so someone on his Wikipedia page said, Dermot Brereton is a prolific 80s footballer, and he used to love go night clubbing, and the nightclub would reserve the car park out the front.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they call it the Dermy.
Yeah. Fair enough. True.
What do you call it?
Pole position.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Just front row of the grid.
A1 Bakery. Tasty.
Yes.
Thanks for lunch.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thanks for the late lunch.
No worries.
Appreciate it.
Where were we?
I'm fucked if I know. But
we definitely talked about mentors.
Yep.
The importance of mentors and learning how to be vulnerable. You need to have an experience of being vulnerable so then you can help other people with that and then be that with other people.
Yes.
I want to actually, maybe it's a good chance for me just to reiterate the point that you can be lonely in a room full of people. And a lot of guys get defensive about this and they say, no, this is not the problem because I've got heaps of mates.
Yeah.
And I've got to try and convey to them that there's a difference between being around people and having people around and having mates who you have a laugh with and have fun with and you might even have D&Ms with sometimes. But there is a difference between that and someone who really knows what's going on in your life regularly, like consistently.
So how would someone know if they're lonely? Like, do you just know because you can feel it, or are people lonely without realizing?
That's a pretty good question. It's I think of loneliness feeling like sadness generally, but the consequence of feeling sad for a long time is they end up feeling numb. And I reckon most of the guys who are listening to this and who end up in my room, by the time they come and speak to me as a psychologist, they're feeling pretty numb. It's not that there's anything dramatically wrong, but they just don't feel good ever. They don't remember the last time they felt really good. And even more complicated for them is that on paper their life is good. They might have a good job, they might be making pretty decent money, they might even have a missus, and they might even play footy on the weekend with 17 other guys, or like more than 20 other guys, and think, what the fuck is going on? Why am I numb when I've got I'm ticking all the boxes? And there's this thing kind of hidden in there, which is that they're not really getting close to anyone. They're around people a lot and they have acquaintances and acquaintanceships, but they don't have kind of like close, intimate friendships.
And is this the point where, or is this like we've got the job, got the income, got the maybe girlfriend, got the footy club mates, got a group of mates here, there, and whatever, got the hobbies, but I don't have this extra thing? And is this something to do with how humans are hardwired for connection and there's something that needs to go beyond surface level?
Yeah, we are hardwired for connection, but we need to be taught how to be close to someone. That's the thing that tends to be missing, is that if you haven't had someone teach you, you might miss it. If you've never had it, you might not know what it is. You kind of you don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where we left off is people might be afraid to have these types of conversation because they get it thrown back to them.
Yes.
And they say, oh, you're a Beta Warsaw, you're a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
That is why we avoid these conversations, is that it's a roll of the dice, whether it goes well or whether it goes badly. You basically pay a psychologist because you know it's going to go well. And even then, even when you pay, sometimes hundreds of dollars to see a psychologist, sometimes even then you get a bad psychologist and then you're really fucking wrecked. That'll really fuck you up because you're like, fuck, I can't get this anywhere. And that's when you really start to give up on it. But while we're talking about this, it's a good time for me to just say, like, there are good psychologists out there. There are good mental health support workers out there. It doesn't have to be a psychologist. There are lots of people who are good and safe and who understand this idea of like that it's useful and important and healthy to be open and vulnerable with someone about what's really going on for you and to get practice at being connected to what's really going on for you.
Because even if you had a bad experience with a psych, you might give up on it all. And same with if you try to do this with a mate, or the wrong person. The wrong person is they're not a bad person. They just weren't equipped or ready to have the conversation.
Totally.
That might be like, oh, if Johnny can't do it, then Freddie can't do it. And if Freddie can't do it, then Colin, he can't do it. Then I've got no one. Then I've got no one. And that's when you can go in again.
Yeah. Totally.
And you give up on it. So
yeah, that's definitely the case. That's why it's important to hold on to the people. When you find the ones that are good, hold on to them.
So we've got to find the right people, or at least the right person to start with.
Yes.
To be vulnerable in front of.
Someone who we know and trust to be able to handle and not react bad, not to react dismissively or angrily or kind of shaming us of something like that. Yeah.
But how does for our brains,
Yes.
or for our brains, how does it feel different when we have a conversation with the guys at the footy club, or just banter with the boys, compared to something more than surface level, something around that platonic intimacy? How are our brains feeling for the first one, and how are our brains feeling for the second one? And why do we like the second one so much?
Yeah, that's interesting. We kind of like them both in a way, but there is a theory that we have our brains and our nervous systems are wired for two things. One is for fighting and running away from threats and dealing with dangerous threats, which is a what's called a sympathetic nervous response. And then there's something else called a parasympathetic nervous response, which not everybody hears about this one as much. But that one is for resting and digesting. As in, that is when you're amongst people who are safe and your body really has a chance to calm down and rejuvenate and re-energize. And some people, if you grew up in a family where it was really safe and people were interested in your feelings and it was okay and good, then you might achieve that quite easily all the time. But if you didn't grow up with that, then your body might not have really ever had much of a chance to be in that space and have a chance to really relax and replenish and rejuvenate properly.
So
did I answer your question?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Why does it feel so good? Because resting feels so good. It feels it's such a relief when you know that you're safe and acceptable and that someone's okay with that, and you don't have to be fighting. You don't have to be. It can be cool to fight for things actually sometimes, but not all the time. And it's a real relief when we know that people are going to understand us and not judge us when we're just going about experiencing life. With whatever that includes.
So then, same question. And I want to talk about that might be the science and the evolutionary thing behind it, which is exactly what I asked for. But all right, well, what about how it just makes us feel afterwards? Like
how good it feels.
The footy club mates banter chat compared to opening up
with a mate about something that's really going on. Yeah. The question is, why does it feel so good, or just does it feel so good? It's usually just such a relief to have somebody witness what's going on with you and just acknowledge it without judging it. It's a relief. It's very affirming. It actually probably won't always make you feel giddy or excited, although maybe sometimes it will. But mostly it'll just be like that your body is going into that rest or digest phase, rest and digest, just like this relief and release and let down. People talk about validation, but it's like this is the dumbest example I can think of, is that when you've been on your feet all day and you take your boots and socks off and your feet can just let go a little bit. And it's that feeling. It's this kind of relaxed and comfortable letting go. That's what happens for us when somebody hears everything about what's happening for us, even the ugly bits, even the embarrassing bits, the bits about how we weren't enough, and then they just hear it and they don't judge us one way or the other. They don't try and correct us. They don't tell us how to do better. They just witness us. When that happens, our whole body gets to relax. And I sorry to keep talking so much.
No, this is good.
But I'm not here saying that we should be always relaxed. That's the goal of this whole thing, is not to be relaxed all the time. And the goal of this thing is not to be in fight mode all the time. We need to have some kind of balance between the rest and digest system and the fight and flight system. Those two things need to be they need to be in parity. They need to be happening in equal amounts. If we get bogged down in the fight or flight system, that's a problem for us. It's going to burn through we're going to burn out our bodies. We're going to be exhausted, and we're also not going to be relating to people in a very friendly way. It's going to be really hard for us to make connections, and we don't want to be in the sleepy, relaxed, chill space too much either. That's not a good way for humans to be living either. That can be problematic in its own ways. Being too comfortable, pursuing too much comfort. And
just on that, it sounds like, or correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a flick one way or the other. It's more like a scale
There's a
or
spectrum.
a spectrum.
Yeah.
And you want it sort of, you can hover in here, but then there's sometimes where you need to go that way and
That's
then
right.
that way.
That's it. That's exactly it. Yeah. In the modern life, we're hardly taking on lions and tigers and predators, but there will be things that activate us at full steam, and then there will be times when we become fully relaxed as well. But broadly speaking, we're kind of mostly hovering around the middle, and that's kind of optimal for us to be around the middle somewhere.
Okay, cool. So we know that it's good for our brains and our bodies. What about what about setting these conversations up for success with not with a mental health professional?
Yes, just amongst friends.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that, actually, because we can talk about that, about more than anything, you need to get a sense from whoever you're going to open up to. You need to be reading whether that person is going to be really capable of having that conversation with you. And I'm sure people listening to this will know right away, have a sense whether someone will be capable of that. But also, none of us can ensure success. That's not actually, I think some people try and consume these sorts of podcasts and information, or go to therapists because they want to live in a way that is foolproof and that you can't fail.
They want to hack life.
They want to hack it in such a way that I maximize my chance of success in every way possible. And that's cool to an extent, but the goal of life is not for us to get to the end of this thing and not have a scratch on us and just be like totally scot-free at the finish line, just being like, nice. That is not the goal. The goal is that we will make mistakes with who we open up to, or even the right person on the wrong day will do a bad job. And that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be your friends anymore. It just means that's what happens sometimes, that people are not in the right, maybe they're going through something which means they're not available to you in that way. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be opening up to people in general. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be opening up to even that particular person. Maybe if it's a thing that happens regularly and that they prove themselves to be not capable, and that's a bit of a different thing altogether. But generally, I also like to remind people that we're not about 100% strike rate. That's not realistic. It's not feasible. That's not what I think. That's not how I think it works.
Okay, all right. I like that answer.
Yeah.
I like that answer. But what about if are there some ways that we can start these conversations with the right person that can sort of frame it so that we aren't let down? Like, are there ways not to rig it or hack it, but like hey, I just need you to listen to me. I'm not broken. I don't need fixing. I just need to get something off my chest. Can you help me with that? Have you got any ways? That
kind of stuff. If that's the kind of conversation you want to have, where you're not getting advice from someone, or they're not trying to solve it for you, it might be worth asking that. I do have a formula for this kind of stuff, and maybe I can give you some information for you to put online about what it might sound like. But you might start by asking for what you want. You might start by saying, is it cool if we have a conversation and like, actually, I don't need advice right now, but I would really appreciate you hearing me out, or there's something I want to talk about and you're the person I want to talk to about it.
Yeah.
It could be like that.
Okay.
What else? And also, like, another important part of that is something that I've kind of already been talking about a bit today, which is talking about how you feel, how something feels, what happens in your body, rather than talking about in too much detail about what the precise events of something are. Is that for it to work best, you want to be aiming at what's happening for you emotionally. Maybe it's worth me saying that when I talk to clients about feelings, that I'm really mostly interested in what's happening in their body. You got to know what's happening in your body. Guys, I meet so many smart men who really can conceptualize what's going on, but they're not very connected to what's happening in their body, where the real events of the feelings are. I've heard a few guys talk about this really well on social media about thinking your feelings versus feeling your feelings. And generally guys have a history of being good at thinking about their feelings and conceptualizing them, but not being very good at feeling them and having access to the actual physical sensations of them when they're communicating them to other people.
And that would take a moment to
It does.
just to figure out where it's sitting, whether it's your stomach, throat, head,
totally,
and paying attention to
it.
just and then and practicing, I suppose.
That's exactly right. It is a practice. It is something that we have to get in the habit of and get the hang of, to be tuning into what's happening in our body and not just thinking of what the right feeling should be or what should we be feeling right now, but what are we actually feeling?
Yeah, because your experience of something could bring a completely different feeling than mine.
Completely. Yeah. That's definitely the case. Yeah, that's kind of like a big chunk of what therapy is about just kind of working out what's going on for you. So much of what happens for us in our feelings emotionally doesn't obey logic. And so the whole part of therapy is kind of interpreting what's going on, why we might feel that way, because it's not obvious, it's not logical, but it's still a real event. It's still a thing that's worth us paying attention to. It's still worth us understanding.
Okay. All right. So there's no
I got no hacks for you. There's no shortcuts here. There's no hacks in the gym, and there's actually kind of no real hacks in this either. There's, at some point you can have good technique and all that stuff, but at some point you just have to do the work. There's work to be done. You got to get reps in being vulnerable with people.
Yeah.
You can get a good trainer, you can work with a psychologist, or you can find a really good mentor who is good at holding feelings and knows when to push you and when to just make room for the feelings. Those things are all good, but at the end of the day, you also just got to do reps.
Now, at the start you mentioned men quite often don't have another mate, whether they're male or female, to have these platonic, intimate relationships with and conversations with. So they go to their romantic partner.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I'm sure that is great.
Yes.
For some relationships.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that could backfire if we get too reliant on our romantic partner?
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on a romantic relationship if you're having all your D&Ms with your partner like that, and like it's kind of beautiful in a way, but it also can become quite unsexy. If you're like talking about all of these things about your life and your feelings, at some point it stops being a bit sexy. You end up becoming a bit more like friends. It stops being sexual in a way. So that can be a problem. I also work with guys who do end up relying on their partner for friendship needs a bit too much, and then they're upset about the relationship becoming a bit stale, a bit kind of friendly, and they're confused by that. But I can see how that could end up happening if you're relying too much on your partner for those sorts of chats.
Should we have those chats naked?
I mean, that's worth exploring. That's definitely something, but you
could try.
It might be hard to stay focused. You might lose. It might be hard to really connect and stay focused if that's how you're doing it.
Okay.
You might not, and you might end up not finishing the chats. It might be counterproductive.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's a pocket in there. It's like there's a lesson that not one person is going to be able to meet 100% of our needs.
That's definitely true.
And our mates, we probably don't shag them.
No, that's it. I mean, some people do that, and that's cool
fine.
too.
That's fine.
I totally get that too.
But with your partner, we don't have to be having these conversations all the time.
They don't have to be the only person who we have.
The only person.
It doesn't, like, the opposite is also true. You definitely do have these sorts of chats with your partner sometimes. Yes. They're great for that. That's why you want to be in a relationship with them, because you know that they are safe and they're probably the person who you will end up being the most vulnerable with, but you just don't want to be doing it with them exclusively. It just puts a lot of pressure on them to digest that. It leaves you in a bit of a You know, what's that expression in business? A single point of failure. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
In a business, if you rely too much on one person, the whole business can fail. If that one person is, anyway, it's a bit like that, like a linchpin. If you put that on your partner too much, it can put pressure on the relationship, and then that can be difficult for the relationship too, to bear the weight of it.
So yeah, like, so if you had ended up parting ways, or if the partner just said,
Right.
whoa, too much, then that person's got nowhere to go.
That too, but also that if they end up being it ends up being like a bit of a second job for them, if they're the ones kind of like exclusively handling the things about life that you have big feelings about, then it will be tiring for them. It'll be taxing for them. Maybe you two will do it for each other, but it can put a lot of load on someone. It's really important to spread your life around several people.
So we've got to find the right people around us to have it with, and they're the people with, let's call it low risk people,
Yes,
in that it would
yes.
backfire.
Yeah.
And that could be
ideally
male, female, any gender around you.
Yes, completely.
And if you need to, you could set that conversation up in a way that it's going to foreshadow you being vulnerable.
Yes. Yeah.
So then it sort of lets them know what's on the table as well.
Yeah.
Without trying to make it too rigid or curated.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh, so this is all about social isolation and trying to crack that code in terms of having deeper conversations with the people around us.
Yeah.
So there, I think we've spoken about some of the benefits.
Yes.
And without scaremongering.
Yes.
What are some of the things associated with social isolation that's bad for our health or bad for us?
All right. Well, there are being isolated. Well, I know, for instance, that it is bad for our health to be isolated, to be not connected. It'll end up showing up in our body in some shape or form. There was some research done about 15 years ago now that showed that being socially isolated had the same effect as smoking more than 10 cigarettes a day. And it's correlated with a shorter lifespan, that being lonely can be really bad for our physical health. It takes a toll on us. When something takes a toll on us emotionally, it takes a toll on us physically. Our feelings are literally in our body, and it does things to our body when we're not having those needs met, when we're not connecting and sharing. It's literally bad for our physical health. It shows up in different people in different ways. Some people get tummy aches and chronic stomach issues. Some people get headaches. Some people, it could show up in all different sorts of ways. Lower back pain. But it's often from a lack of, closeness in our lives, from being seen.
Yeah. I want to go back. I want to, for the people that don't know if they're feeling lonely.
Yes, sure.
But they want to test out.
If they want to find out if it's just kind of like, if they're numb.
Yeah.
If they're numb, it's kind of tricky, because there's a good chance that if you are feeling numb and you get to have a kind of more deep and meaningful connection with someone, it will feel something good and warm will happen for you. And if that is the case, then you know that you could benefit from more of these sorts of regular and consistent and reliable connections. That would be a thing.
Essentially, it's a test.
That would be, if you have that kind of conversation or connection with someone and it feels good, that's a sign that there might not be enough of that happening in your life.
And that might not necessarily mean that you are lonely by definition, but what it's telling you is that this is good, it feels good, follow that bouncing ball.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Follow that.
Am I in the right spot?
Yes, you've got a great sense of direction.
Homing pigeon is my spirit animal.
Yeah,
homing
right.
Pigeon.
That's so good. That's funny.
All right, well, and what if we're going to ask people or encourage people to have these conversations? What are we leaving them with today to be able to just run that test?
it's probably like a bit cheesy, but I would encourage people to be brave, to try it. Don't be afraid to get scratches on you. Don't be afraid that you're going to open up to someone and they might not meet you in the way that you were hoping for. There's actually, unfortunately, a good chance that that will be the case, but it's worth it in the long run. That it's worth it. That if it doesn't work with this person, that you keep looking and you find someone that it does work with, and it's not worth being alone and not having this to stop yourself from getting hurt in the instances when it doesn't work out. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's worth the price. When you do eventually get it, it's worth your price, and it takes some, like all good things in life, it takes some work at first, but it ends up being worthwhile.
Any other comments on
I'm not very good
at all in general about social isolation and loneliness?
Any other comments?
Because it sounded like that last bit, there's maybe an added bit, is it like we all deserve to be around people, we all deserve to have that connection.
Yeah, it is the case that we are all worth it. We're all worth knowing. We're all worth being seen. That we really need someone to show us that. Sometimes, if we haven't had it in our childhood, we need to witness somebody observing us to know that we are worth being observed. But yes, that's something that I got to say in therapy all the time, is to remind my clients that you are worthwhile, you're worth knowing, you're worth understanding, you're worth taking care of. That's what it is to connect to someone.
And there are people out there around us that can do it for us. We've just got to go and find them.
We've got to go out there and find the right people. Yeah.
That's it. Mate, that was awesome.
That's good. Mate, so
Thank
good.
you, Dr. Beau.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for including me in that. I'm stoked.